Welcome to the Bionicle Inspiration Series, the show where we spotlight mocks from across the community to inspire you. Although you could call today the Hero Factory Inspiration Series, because that's what we're doing. We're looking at some Hero Factory focused construction mocks to get you inspired to build some cool Hero Factory stuff. And not just cool Hero Factory stuff, radical Hero Factory stuff, because we have some rock-themed I was going to call them Matoran. They're not Matoran. Hero Factory heroes today in this episode. And get excited, there's some fantastic mocks in this episode, and it warranted a fantastic thumbnail for it. So let's dive into the very first mock today. This is by the good man Bob the Doctor 27, and this is Brain Attack Stringer. So what I love about this is the idea of, with most of Hero Factory, each sort of time they sort of upgraded the theme, when they went from just your classic Hero Factory to Hero Factory 2.0 to Jungle to Breakout, all that sort of stuff, there would be times where they'd skip out on certain heroes because they'd change up the roster slightly, they'd add a new one, or by adding a new one, they'd knock someone off. You know, like we never got 2.0 Bulk, for example, or Stringer as well, actually. And so with Brain Attack, same thing. We didn't get Stringer. No love for Stringer. He was awesome. And what I love about this is it's like, well, here's how he could look if he did appear in Brain Attack. And I love that because it makes sense. Surely he's not, I don't know, playing checkers back at Hero Factory HQ. He'd be out there fighting, you'd hope. So what's he going to look like? You know, try and imagine that. And obviously it's a little bit difficult because Brain Attack had that specific gimmick of Brain Attack. The slug alien thing sort of went on the people's heads and sort of infected them, turning them evil, sort of thing. And the heroes had the visors over their heads to stop the brains actually, you know, taking over their brains, or the brain slugs taking over the brains. You heard what I said. And that might be a bit difficult because you're like, well, how do I do that? That piece doesn't exist. Well, in this case here, Bob the Doctor was saying that he went to a man called Galvaniz. I shouldn't say man. I don't know the gender of that person, but I've got a link in the description to their Instagram if you want to check them out. He said he bought the mask off of them, so maybe you can buy some masks off of them too. But I love that, you know, perfect time to warrant getting a custom mask. Maybe you're a little adverse to custom stuff, that's fine. Stick with your typical Lego, that's always good. But, you know, in circumstances like this, maybe you do need something a little bit more snazzy. It's more sort of fitting to fit the bill there. And it looks perfect, and it fits the visor very nicely, and is very reminiscent of Jimmy Stringer's original sort of mask there as well, which is really cool. Speaking of things being original, when we take a look at the original Stringer, of course here you can see the similarities with the mask, but also the original had that sort of orange and black color scheme. But then when we looked at Breakout Jimmy Stringer, he had a really awesome like trans blue and black color scheme, which was cool. And I love that he's kind of combined both of them here. Mr. Bob the Doctor has done so, and made an even cooler looking color scheme. You know, obviously the orange is trans orange in this case, but trans orange, trans blue, and black with, I guess, a little bit of gunmetal here and there. Fantastic color scheme. That's beautiful. So it's lovely to see those colors work so nicely together like this. It's quite stunning. So it's nice to see him take notes from multiple different forms of Jimmy Stringer and put it into this mock here. It's a sight to behold. And, I mean, I don't know how I didn't bring it up right off the bat. He has a guitar and speakers on his back and even speakers on his arms. Again, very similar to the Breakout Stringer. And it's nice to know you can kind of insert those trans orange boat studs on the top of those speakers to make them look even cooler. So he defeats brain slugs with the power of rock and roll, which is very Stranger Things inspired, I suppose. This mock probably came out way before Stranger Things. But you know what I'm saying. I love that. It seems very fitting. Jimmy Stringer, at least in Breakout and stuff, had that sort of sound wave, rock and roll kind of aesthetic to a degree. Probably also Jimmy Stringer, some sort of inspiration with rock and roll and stuff as well. So very, very appropriate, and such a unique weapon and a unique concept. There's a lot of unique stuff on this mock. It's beautiful to see. So great to see so many different ways that... so many influences on this mock, and just the end result is beautiful. So lovely work, Bob the Doctor. And let's move over to another mock. This is by EMS, and hey, be sure to check the links in the description below. Check out EMS's stuff. They post a ton of Hero Factory stuff over on their Instagram, so if you want to see more, that might be a place to go. But this is a revamp of Thorn Racks, and it's really unique, this version of Thorn Racks, because when we take a look at the original set was very sort of bug-like, to the point of It only had like a stinger and 2 arms, or 2 sort of clawy arm things, I guess, didn't it? And, that works. That's cool. But I remember when I got this set, I really wished it came with like a stand or a way to kind of pose it a bit better, because it's kind of hard to pose it, And yes, it's a really cool design, but like when it's hard to put on a shelf and stuff, it can be a little bit more frustrating, I guess. So it's lovely to see a version of Thorn Racks here where it still has that sort of bug look to it, that sort of wasp-like look to it, but it's kind of, it totally different, and has legs, and has multiple pairs of arms and stuff. It's very Bittle-like. Bittle, the Makuta, of course, from the Mystica wave of Bionicle sets, and I love that. It's still taking all the original concepts, but making him more humanoid and easier to display, which is very cool. Something else that's very cool is the weapon that he has here. I kind of like the way the handle looks, just sort of the way he's gripping it. There's something a bit more unique about that. But the fact that, as it says on the Instagram here, it goes into detail about how they craft honey and use it to fuel their ammunition for weapons. So he has a honey blaster. Fantastic. Perfectly fitting for the idea of a bug bad guy, and just really unique ammunition, and that sort of pop of trans yellow there is also just another sort of nice additional kind of color there. So fantastic. A very unique concept, and perfectly executed. Looks awesome. I love to just the fact that this is all kind of built around an Anika torso by the looks of it. When we sort of study the torso there, or the upper torso chest area specifically, there was a time back in the day where people were like, no Anika torsos, they're the worst thing ever. You got to be like custom. You got to use heaps of pieces and build some sort of unique, amazing torso. But man, when you can get the job done with just an Anika torso like this, it's something special. And I think it's really approachable too, if you're not too sure how to build a more sort of customizable torso where the arms are sort of bent at a specific angle and you've got all these different connection points on it and you can fully customize it till your heart's content. Yeah, that's cool and all, but that's difficult sometimes, Why not just stick with a classic? Use a prefab torso. Use basic Hero Factory bone pieces like this and still get a bang-up, beautiful-looking mock like this. Sometimes that simple but effective design, it just works. I had someone ask me on one of the Patreon podcasts that I do, because I do like a Q&A thing. People ask me questions. One of the questions was like, what's one of your favorite mocking styles? And I was saying I really like it when people build simplistic, but simplistic can be hard to do, because sometimes it can be a little too simplistic and you're like, yeah, it's okay. But I think like this is a really good example of that sort of perfect level of simplicity where it's just using typical kind of prefab pieces and stuff. There's not like heavy customization going on here. But man, it just completely nails what it's trying to achieve, doesn't it? It's great. It's great. So brilliant bug-like look to it. An awesome way of taking the original concept and expanding it in crazy new areas. Awesome gun. Lots to love. Let's move on to a fan-submitted mock. This is by TY, and this is William Furno on his Inferno Bike. So what I like about this is the fact that we obviously had the set Furno Bike from one of the early waves of Hero Factory. And I love that set. I might very well do a review on that set. It's such a good set. But, as cool as that is, maybe you're a big fan of bikes or just other sort of, cars and that sort of world. And you're like, I want to build like a different type of bike. Because there's many different types of bikes. You got your choppers, your motorcycles, your hover bikes if you're into sci-fi sort of stuff, speeder bikes from Star Wars, many different bikes. So maybe you could revamp the Furno Bike into any kind of different bike that suits your needs. And this is certainly a different take on the bike indeed, and it works really well. So, heck, maybe you could even give a bike to some of the other characters. Did Jimmy Stringer have a bike? Did it also play music and have speakers attached to it? And maybe you did. Maybe you could build it. Some of the other photos here, he's sort of done a bit of a photo shoot around the house or wherever this is, with Furno here of him, aiming his gun and sniping people down and all that sort of stuff. And it looks like a fun day. Maybe you could do something similar yourself. But it's also cool to see on this version of Furno how he sort of painted some details on the mask, and it was also on the torso a little bit there, kind of, sort of. It's just nice, just little subtle detail like that, just kind of painting over the piece, just to kind of bring out some of the details that already exist there. It's a subtle thing, but I think it looks quite nice. So, yeah. And also it's cool to see a more sort of CCBS focused version of Furno 1.0, just sort of changing up the limbs, giving him a lot more kind of posability, because those 1.0 heroes did not have a lot of posability, that's for sure. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It works well. So a fantastic mock here, awesome photos to go with it. Love your work. On to the next mock and the final mock now, the one that I'm sure you've all been waiting for from that awesome thumbnail. This is Axe Splode by Wow Block. And wow indeed, because this is a really impressive take on Explode. Obviously, the original of Explode looks a little something like this. And, you know, he had a cool axe and stuff. And, of course, I like the fact that he's adapted the name to be Axe Splode instead. So he's changed up the axe a fair bit. It's a much cooler looking axe design. But it's even cooler because it also looks like a guitar at certain points, which, I don't know, explosions, kind of makes you think of sound, seems fitting for like a guitar and just all that sort of thing. And kind of just like the mohawk design of his mask and his big smile and the spikes everywhere. He seems like he's from Kiss or he's in some rock and roll band or something like that. So it's an incredibly perfect addition here, and is fantastic seeing him rocking a guitar that also doubles as an axe. It's incredibly heavy metal and fantastic. So yeah, love your work there, good sir. Awesome concept. It's been lovely to see throughout this episode today people taking the original concept and expanding it in fantastic ways here. It's awesome. I love too how he's given a slightly different angle to the sort of shoulder spikes here. They're a little bit kind of closer to the head and more sort of, yeah, they're kind of like Kiss shoulder pads, like I said. But also the fact that he's attached some axles on the front there so that it looks like he, it looks like he has little sort of like turrets or something there, like a little gun or something. It's a lovely little addition. Just works well. And, obviously that piece just naturally had that connection on it. So I think it's a nice sort of advancement. I imagine when he built this, he, placed them on in that specific fashion. He's like, could I maybe try and fill in that little, gap there? And it's like, actually, I could just put these on. He's got little turrets or something. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I haven't looked into his brain and studied what he did. I've not met the person or anything. So who knows? But that could well have been how it worked. And, it's happy little accidents that come out like that can result in fun stuff when you're building. So maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Who knows? I love to, in this picture here, I don't know what's going on. I assume that's legit and there's no Photoshop or nothing. The way that his leg is kicking up like that. If this mock can stand up like that on one foot, there's some good structural integrity. I mean, when we study his butt here, we can see the fact that there's these two really sturdy looking, kind of like, back waist. What's the small of the back? What do you call that? I forget. Hero Factory bone pieces there that look like they add a fair bit of stability there. And there looks to be some pretty sturdy looking kind of knee joints and things on this too. So yeah, maybe that thing can kick up really, really realistically and hold up its foot in a very incredible way like that. So some fantastic posability there and good structural integrity to keep it supporting itself on one leg like that. Very impressive. So an awesome mock, really rocking out, fantastic mock with this one, and a lot of good, fantastic Hero Factory inspired mocks today. If you're looking to build your own Hero Factory stuff, hopefully that gave you some cool ideas. Maybe it's worth revamping some of your favorite Hero Factory characters for your next build. Thank you again for watching the episode. I do appreciate all the love and response that you guys always have to these episodes and everything I post on the channel, so thank you very much. I love you tons. If you want to check the links in the description and see some of the other mocks you saw in today's episode, other mocks those builders have built as well, check that out. It's all there for you. Additionally, in the description below is links to my social media, so if you want to see what I've got going on, that's the place to check it out. Also, in the description below is the submission email, so submit away, send any of the mocks that you want to onto this show, send them to that email, and I'll try my best to put them in future episodes. And there's also my Patreon, that's in the description below, so if you would like some bonus content like those Q&As I spoke about before, the Patreon is there for as little as $1 a month for you if you're interested. I also have a PO box if you want to send anything my way, that's the way to do so. Thanks again for watching, love you tons, happy building, bye for now.